10 minutes of Tech Gab. My name is Gaby Rowe, and I'm the executive director of the Ion here in Houston, Texas. Today, I have with me Gordon Daugherty of Capital Factory to talk a little bit about this strange world we're in today and how it's impacting the entrepreneurs in our lives, but also how we look forward to the future of innovation, not just here in Houston, but really across Texas. Good morning, Gordon, and welcome.
Good morning, Gaby. Happy to be with you.
So for those newbies coming on to this vlog and the first time who haven't heard of Capital Factory, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, most of the members of the startup ecosystem throughout Texas would know Capital Factory as the center of gravity for entrepreneurs throughout Texas. It means kind of building a startup ecosystem in its totality underneath one brand and extending that throughout Texas. So it means lots of events for entrepreneurs. It means co-working spaces in the major metropolitan areas. It means a large-scale a fundraising accelerator, a venture fund, corporate innovation program. So all of those things kind of coming together under the umbrella of a Capital Factory brand.
Fantastic. And having experienced so many of those pieces myself, I know that they have a lot to do with collisions and density and people meeting one another and connecting in person.
Yes.
What does that mean in today's world of social distancing?
Yeah, this is a new world order that we're all getting used to. And we did celebrate in the past those collisions that you talked about, and it was bumping into each other in the kitchen or bumping into each other at a physical event like an AMA, a meetup or something like that.
Right.
And all of us are going to get used to new ways of creating those collisions. So they'll happen virtually. And the fact that at this moment in time, we're swinging the pendulum to everything has to be virtual, whether we want to or not. I think what's going to be interesting is as we evolve out of this and we're no longer forced to be separated and working from home and doing virtual, I don't believe the pendulum's going to swing all the way back to where it was before. The new normal will be somewhere in between. And I actually think that is going to unlock a lot of new potential that previously was not possible.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that because we've been spending a lot of time, I know ourselves at the Ion, thinking about what that new balance will be and how we are going to prioritize those physical contacts because I'm sure they will be more complex than they've ever been before. What does that look like for you at Capital Factory?
Well, I'll give you maybe two examples. So we've got a mantra that's already resonating at Capital Factory amongst our team, which is virtual first, right? In the past, we had physical interactions, office hours, or some type of event, and we optimized for the in-person physical part of it, and then maybe we bolted on some kind of virtual component to it, but we thought physical first. Virtual first means the opposite. So we're already doing hundreds of virtual office hours every week. So our mentors, thankfully, were gracious in converting to virtual office hours. Now, fortunately for that, I think a lot of us are used to this kind of one-to-one video conferencing experience. So moving that to virtual is going to be pretty natural. But for an AMA, a meetup, a workshop, something big like my Founders
Happy hour, lunch and learn.
Exactly. That's a little bit different. And so when you design it for virtual first, you design in the interactive component, the ability to ask questions. So that's what'll be different. We're not thinking of virtual after, we're thinking virtual first. It'll be clunky. I mean, most organizations are not used to this, but we are a startup. And so startups are good at trying and experimentation and adapting and adjusting along the way. I think very quickly, organizations like the Ion, like Capital Factory, we will figure this out first and will serve as a model for a lot of the rest of the, let's say, country or business that can take from our guidance.
Absolutely. Well said. So I'm going to talk a little bit about sort of the elephant head in the middle of the room, which is economics, what the economy will look like after this, and particularly what is venture capital going to look like going forward for our entrepreneurs, some of whom were in the midst of a raise or contemplating a raise in short order. What does that mean?
Well, it's obviously going to be tough, so we can't sugarcoat the near term at least. I'm old enough to have at least 3 examples like this in the past: the .com crash, and September 11th, and the Great Recession. And of course, there are some parallels. This one will be different in some ways, but I think it'll be similar in a lot of ways. And I've been publishing my insights and advice for founders about, let's say, the fundraising atmosphere. That's what startups are thinking about. 2 aspects of this. It's gaining more runway to survive, and then is there capital available to continue to operate a viable business? And so I kind of see 3 phases on the fundraising part of it. And unfortunately, the first phase is mostly kind of a paralysis phase. I think until we can predict where the peak of this is going to be, it's going to be really hard for any angel or almost all institutional investors to make any decision. How can you make a decision when we can't reliably predict where the peak of this is going to be? Right. That's going to be the hardest phase. Yep.
Well, and I think that paralysis is one that we're getting a lot of questions about, and I think we're all sort of crossing our fingers that we'll get out of that period pretty quickly. But what do you think the greatest benefit, the greatest asset that we can provide to those entrepreneurs during this period of paralysis?
So, those of us that have been through one or more of these, what we have is just that inherent wisdom of having been through it before. And I tweeted out literally just last night that unfortunately for many young business professionals, young, first-time founders, the only way to gain wisdom for something like this is to actually go through it. You can't read a book. I can't just tell them a story and have it really resonate and make sense. So they are gaining some business wisdom that it pains me, but they're getting it as a result of this. They'll be stronger. So I think what that means is how we can help them is we have been through this before. So I am doing daily virtual office hours every single day. I'm doing a couple hours of office hours, and a lot of that is just listening and empathizing and letting them know, hey, this is going to work out. And by it's going to work out, I'm not necessarily promising them that their company will remain alive. It'll be okay for them. Their employees will be okay. And then I often go into certain discussions about how might you save your company and the difficult decisions about cutting expenses. These founders, their co-founders and employees, that's their family. They've never, ever done something that resembles a layoff. And so in some ways, I find myself almost giving them permission to take that painful action. And by me saying, look, from what you've told me, unfortunately, that is your only choice. If you want to continue to pursue this dream, you've got to buy yourself more time. And what you told me, there's only 2 ways for you to do that. And from what you said, I think I would probably do the same thing. That in and of itself is relieving and valuable for those founders.
That is huge wisdom. And I think back on the words of my grandfather, who was through everything from the 1918 pandemic on forward, and said, you start a business and you keep it running through a down cycle like this, an event like this, and you can find ways to be successful for the rest of your career. And I think it is those pearls of wisdom, that empathy, and a huge call out to anyone who's listening to this, who has that experience. Even if you're not going to hop on a video and do office hours, find a business person, an entrepreneur, a young person to share that listening with and that empathy. Thank you for that call to action. So we're going to end our conversation here, but where can people go to find out more about what's happening in this virtual first Capital Factory?
Yeah, as we make that transition, a lot of our community, both members of Capital Factory, our accelerator companies, and the broader Texas, ecosystem of founders, they usually know to go to the events page on the Capital Factory website, capitalfactory.com/events, and they're going to quickly see already next week and in the coming weeks, there are virtual first events that are happening. So for those that feel like we might be able to be helpful, really it's the events page of the Capital Factory website.
Fantastic. And thank you so much, Gordon. Anybody who is looking for more resources, we will have the Capital Factory link there as well. Go to the ionhouston.com website, and you'll be able to click through there to many of these resources for innovators, entrepreneurs, and all those interested in finding out more. Thank you so much, and have a great day.